When people think of the toughest prisons in the world, names like Alcatraz or Guantanamo often come to mind. But deep in South Africa, far from tourist routes and public curiosity, there exists a prison so strict, so isolating, that even hardened criminals fear its name. Today on Voxtrends, we take you inside one of the most unforgiving correctional facilities in the country. This is the story of Kokstad, also known as Ebongweni Super Max Prison, an underground facility designed not just to hold inmates, but to break the most dangerous among them. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to Voxtrends, because this is the kind of story you won't hear on mainstream news. If you're interested in real power, real systems, and the hidden world behind closed doors, hit that subscribe button now. Kokstad Prison sits in KwaZulu-Natal, near the Eastern Cape border. On the surface, it looks almost ordinary. High walls, watchtowers, razor wire. But what makes this prison terrifying lies beneath the ground. Ebongweni Supermax is not built for rehabilitation in the traditional sense. It was designed for control, isolation, and total psychological dominance. This is where South Africa sends inmates who are considered too dangerous for ordinary prisons. Gang leaders who run criminal empires from behind bars, serial offenders who have attacked warders and fellow inmates, prisoners whose presence alone can destabilize an entire correctional facility. Once you enter Ebongweni, you do not live like a normal prisoner. You exist in a system of near total isolation. Inmates here spend up to 23 hours a day alone in their cells. No socializing, no casual conversations, no freedom of movement. The cell becomes the entire world. Concrete walls, a steel door, a narrow bed, a toilet, silence that presses against the mind like a heavy weight. The remaining 1 hour outside the cell is not freedom, it is controlled movement. Sometimes it's for exercise in a small enclosed yard. Sometimes it's for a shower. Sometimes it's simply for inspection. Every step is monitored, every movement recorded. This level of solitary confinement is not accidental, it is intentional. The design of Ebongweni is based on the idea that extreme isolation weakens criminal command structures. When gang leaders cannot communicate, their power fades. When intimidation fails, control is restored. But the human cost is severe. Former inmates and human rights observers have described the experience as mentally crushing. Days blend into nights, time loses meaning. Some prisoners talk to themselves just to hear a voice. Others count footsteps, cracks in the wall, or minutes between meals to stay sane. The underground sections of the prison add another layer of psychological pressure. Limited natural light, artificial lighting that never truly turns off. The body forgets when to rest. The mind forgets what normal life feels like. Ebongweni is also known for its strict discipline. Any violation of rules, no matter how small, can result in further restrictions. Communication privileges removed, exercise time reduced, visits limited or canceled. This system operates on obedience, not negotiation. Warders here are specially trained. Not everyone is allowed to work at Ebongweni. Officers undergo psychological screening and intensive training because managing prisoners who have nothing to lose is one of the most dangerous jobs in corrections. There are no loud prison yards filled with shouting inmates, no visible gang rituals, no dominance displays. Silence is the rule. Control is absolute. This prison has housed some of South Africa's most feared criminals, individuals whose names are whispered in townships and feared in police stations. When they arrive at Ebongweni, their influence stops at the cell door. Supporters of the Supermax system argue that prisons like Kokstad are necessary. They say without such facilities, violent offenders would continue to run criminal networks from behind bars. They point to reduced gang violence and improved safety for warders as proof that the system works. Critics, however, raise serious concerns. Prolonged solitary confinement has been linked to depression, anxiety, hallucinations, and long-term psychological damage. Some argue that breaking a person's mind is not justice, it is cruelty. South Africa's constitution places a strong emphasis on human dignity, even for prisoners. This creates an ongoing tension between security and human rights. Ebongweni sits right at the center of that debate. Is it acceptable to isolate a human being for 23 hours a day in the name of public safety? Or does this approach create individuals who are even more damaged when they eventually return to society? That question has no easy answer. What is clear is that Ebongweni is not a place you want to end up. For inmates transferred here, it often marks the end of their power, their influence, and sometimes their mental stability. Many describe it as a prison within a prison, a final stop for those deemed uncontrollable. The surrounding community rarely speaks about what happens inside. The walls are thick, both physically and socially. Information is limited. Access is restricted, and that secrecy only adds to the prison's reputation. Even among prisoners in other facilities, the name Ebongweni carries weight. It is spoken with caution. Being transferred there is seen as punishment beyond sentencing, a warning of what happens when you cross certain lines. If you're finding this story eye-opening, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Voxtrends. We bring you the stories others avoid, explained clearly and without fear. As South Africa continues to battle violent crime, overcrowded prisons, and powerful criminal syndicates, facilities like Kokstad's Ebongweni Super Max will remain controversial. Some see them as a necessary shield protecting society. Others see them as a dark reflection of how far the justice system is willing to go. One thing is certain, behind those underground walls, time moves differently, hope fades quickly, and the silence is louder than any scream. This is not a place of second chances. It is a place designed to end resistance. And that is why Kokstad Ebongweni Super Max Prison is considered one of the toughest prisons in South Africa. Subscribe to Voxtrends for more deep dive documentaries like this, because the truth doesn't live on the surface. It lives where few dare to look.